Hey there, what's going on? It's Two Base Sports. I know it's been a minute. Honestly, it's just been kind of me figuring out what I want to do with this channel in terms of just how I want to make things work. But for now, I just thought I'd make this video a little spur of the moment reaction and sort of my thoughts about the fight last night, big mega fight between Gervonta Tank Davis and King Ryan Garcia. For those of you who have not seen it yet or just trying to for a quick recap, Tank Davis stops Ryan Garcia in the 7th round with a body shot. It was a delayed reaction shot, and Garcia, he really wanted to get up, but he just didn't. A lot of people have compared it to what happened to his mentor, Oscar De La Hoya, against Bernard Hopkins, and sort of body shot knockout that I kind of took a lot of people by surprise. So with that being said, that's kind of what happened with the fight. My thoughts about the situation, going in, honestly, I wasn't really sure who was going to win. I did favor Gervonta Davis, but there's always that variability beyond what you might expect to happen. So, I might have expected Garcia. I thought that he's a young guy. He's, a confident guy, took the fight, got all the agreements done to get it over the line. Definitely Gervonta exercised his A-side privileges in terms of, the stipulations and this and that. And because somebody had the confidence like Ryan Garcia to make this fight go through, even with the cross promotion, between networks and all that. The fact that he was willing to, make it go through, sort of gives me more confidence, that he would be able to win. I mean, it's the same kind of thing when Zhang Jili, who just beat Joe Joyce, when he fought Hrgovic, all those guys that turned down the fight with Hrgovic, and Zhang was like, no, I'll take it, and Zhang ended up, battling Hrgovic to a very close. He lost, in my opinion, by like a round, but some people think he won. And that's the same kind of thing, a guy that is not afraid, and when somebody's not afraid, you kind of have to put some points on their side of the ledger before the fight even starts. So I didn't really know what was going to happen with this. I feel like Davis is the more experienced guy. I feel like he doesn't get enough credit for being like a ring IQ. Like, we talk about Lomachenko downloading information, but Davis is kind of the same way. He's a slow starter, and then he figures out what he needs to figure out. And even if it takes him to the later rounds, he generally scores the knockout. I mean, there's not that many guys that go the distance with him. The last guy I can remember was Isaac Cruz, and before that, I think he was on like Spike TV with some guy who went the distance or very close to that. So it's just it's a long time since he went the distance. So with that being said, going to the fight, as far as money goes, I didn't put too much on this fight, but I did put something on. Basically, I found that two groups, rounds 1 through 6 and rounds 7 through 12. I just bet a little bit because there was plus money on both sides. So we figured this fight wouldn't go the distance. So I just figured that would be worth it, and I got a little bit back. But I was too afraid to bet on the sides who's going to win. I wasn't feeling too confident. And I think the odds were pretty well placed between, Gervonta Davis being around just a little over a 2-1 favorite in this fight. And Gervonta and Ryan Garcia, I think, closed at like plus 180 or something. So I didn't want to touch that. I thought that was pretty accurate. So I decided instead to go for just, will the fights go the distance or not? Because I just wasn't really sure what was going to happen. I had a feeling that Davis would win, but I just wasn't 100% confident on it. And you never know. Again, you never know what a confidence that a fighter has like Ryan Garcia. Does it really translate to his ability to get the victory? He did put a good account of himself in terms of the sportsmanship and everything, and going out with his usual aggressive style. But honestly, I think the fight changed after that first knockdown in the 2nd round. Once Davis landed that shot, I think Davis was a little annoyed by Garcia, before that. Garcia very aggressive, punching during the clinch, really probably getting on Davis's nerves a little bit. But once Gervonta was able to time and land that first left hand, I think the fight just pretty much changed from there, at least for the next few rounds. Garcia definitely not as tentative. And honestly, the next few rounds, I think it was rounds 3, 4, and 5, Gervonta Davis put on a pretty good boxing lesson to Ryan Garcia. He did pretty well, jabbing, countering when he needed to, and a lot of movement to both sides. Garcia was hyper aware or Davis was hyper aware of Garcia's left hook. I don't really remember him getting hit by one, at least that cleanly, or at least anything that was that crazy. In fact, the bigger shots I can think of that landed in the fight were Garcia's right hands, but that's not Davis. What Davis was really, Davis was hyper-focused on that left hook. He made sure that he was not going to get, if there was anything that was going to happen in the fight, he was not going to lose based on that left hook. So he did a pretty awesome job of defending it, and I was pretty impressed. Davis is a guy, again, with a high ring IQ. He understands his opponents before he goes in the ring with them. He takes a few rounds. That first round was very cautious by both guys, both respecting each other's power. But Davis is that way. He kind of downloads the information, and then once he gets that from there, he times his counters, and his power shots are some of the most powerful in the sport. So we saw evidence of that last night. And as far as, the 6th and 7th round, it looked like Garcia was gaining a little bit of momentum, starting to try to mix up his offense, not just look for the left hook. He did try to throw some right hands as well, and, that got Davis's attention a little bit. But Gervonta Davis, instead, of going to the head, he went to the body at the end there in the 7th round, and he basically caught Ryan Garcia off guard. Just a really smart fighter, Gervonta Davis, smart mix of punching, using his left hand, but varying it, changing levels. And he was able to get the stoppage in this fight. In terms of what comes next for both fighters, so I heard that Ryan Garcia is going to 140 pounds. I know that will probably fuel a lot of critics of Davis, saying that, the weight rehydration clause had an effect. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't. I mean, both fighters made weight. They looked okay. So I don't really know how much validity there was to that. But, certainly there will be some critics that will definitely take away from Davis's performance because of that. Ryan basically announcing immediately after that he's going to 140. As far as who's there at 140 for him on that matchup side, the first guy I can think of, honestly, I know it's a little under the radar, but a guy like Richardson-Hitchens, I mean, that would be a tremendous fight. I don't know if they'll make that, just because I think Matchroom are trying to build Hitchens too, but, both on the same Matchroom side, not Matchroom, but DAZN side, I mean, because I think Garcia's with Golden Boy, but Hitchens with the Matchroom, but DAZN, they generally can make the fights if they want to. That would be a fantastic fight to see on that side of the street, if we're thinking in that terms. But in terms of just like who you want to see at 140 with Ryan Garcia, I mean, I would like to see any of them. Teofimo, Regis Prograis, any of those guys, against Ryan Garcia. Even, Arnold Barboza Jr. would be a good first step. I mean, anybody, there's a lot of big guys at 140 that Garcia can fight. The division is stacked. The champions in that division are not well, established, ever since Josh Taylor, kind of dispersed his belts. The WBA belt, I think, is vacant right now. So, I mean, if a Garcia really wants a title shot, he could probably get it if he wanted to be WBA champion. He could probably go for it and get it. So that's sort of my analysis on, what's next for Garcia. As far as Tank Davis, I think there's really only one fight I want to see right now, Tank Davis's, and that's Shakur Stevenson. I think, in terms of people that have that mix of IQ and power at the same time, I think those are the two. I mean, Devin Haney, skilled boxer, but I think his level of power, is still, an open question. He is still young, and he's still, he's still maturing, just like physically, just like Shakur Stevenson is. But Shakur Stevenson, has really shown the ability, and I think personally developed mentally too as a fighter. Like he's not afraid to trade with guys. He mentioned against Nakathila a few fights ago that he was afraid that he was going to get hit, blah, blah, blah. But I think Stevenson has now gained confidence. He is a guy who can sit down and hurt fighters. I mean, he knocked down Oscar Valdez. He hurt, Yoshino. He knocked him out. So basically it was just a technical perfect performance. But that's the fight I want to see, because I feel like Davis, he has the power edge, but I think both guys in terms of IQ are around the same. I think that would be a great fight at 50-50. I don't even know who you would take. I mean, I guess Davis because of the experience level, but I don't know. I think that'd be such a good fight, Gervonta Davis and Shakur Stevenson. I don't know if it will happen, but that's the fantasy fight that just immediately kind of comes to mind in my head. Obviously Lomachenko is still there, and Lomachenko is a guy who I think would fight anybody, so maybe we'll see that. But plenty of good fights there for Gervonta Davis as well. I'm interested to see what his next direction is, to see, if he decides to stay in-house at 135 and just fight PBC guys and jump up and down in weights like he has been. The one criticism, that I will have of Gervonta Davis is that, technically he's a one-weight world champion, because the WBA belts that he won are not the true, super belts. So that's one thing I think people should remember, is that, he is technically only a one-belt champion, but I think he's a better fighter than a one-belt champion. At the end of the day, as we saw with this fight, people didn't care that this was not for belts. They just cared that these are two fighters that there was some level of unknown going into fight who would win. So with that being said, that's kind of my recap on the situation. I hope that both guys continue their good careers. Ryan Garcia, he's still growing. He still has a chance to vary his game, add, jab and more consistent mix of punches than just a left hook. And I think I think for Ryan Garcia, Leopard can't change his spots. I don't think that he necessarily needs to change his comfort style in terms of like I think he should stay with his comfort style because that's clearly what he's comfortable with. But just add some more wrinkles to it. Add some more mix of punch selection and things like that. And not follow Davis around as much as he did in this fight. So with that being said, that's pretty much my take on the situation. I hope that both fighters continue their good careers. Gervonta Davis with the big win in this fight, and I think he's getting close to that pound for pound status. Again, he's only a one belt champion, but he's beaten enough people now, and I think he's been undefeated long enough and shown enough power that I think he deserves at least a spot on the pound for pound list, even if it's lower on the list. So with that being said, I think that's pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see y'all next time. Peace.